Hi everybody, it's Echotransformer, time for another Shapeways unboxing. Just like my last video, I'm going to be opening these up and for the very first time looking at these parts with you guys so you can see what it's like when I hit the parts. That means it could go really good or it could go really, really bad. These parts might be a total disaster, and that's kind of the exciting part of it. So let's cut it open. Let's have a look at what's inside. So from Shapeways, I just got this. Super excited. It's brutal February outside. It's been snowing like crazy, so this is such a nice gift to get. Now Shapeways, you can see, always does a great job packing this stuff. You see there's lots of bubble there. And what's inside? So we've got these parts here, which we're going to have a look at. These are actually for TM Havoc. And you can see that these are actually colored black. And that's really good because that means no painting required for these guys. Now, we've got these, which are going to be like a chain, like an accessory kind of part that I've been working on. So I'll show you what these are all about in a bit. This is the big one that I'm super excited about. I spent a lot of time designing it. Guess who that's for? Can you see? Yeah, that's going to be for our Warbotron Computron. I don't even know what his first name is. And these. So you probably weren't necessarily expecting these for Warbotron Computron, but here they are. And these are going to do something to make the feet look better. In addition, we even have these for Warbotron. Most of these parts, by the way, are for Warbotron Computron. These parts are going to extend the arms out further. And but wait, there's more. This part is really interesting. We'll probably start with this one. This one actually attaches to the back and is going to provide a mount for his gun. And I think that's it. So yeah, really excited to try these out. Okay, I've decluttered my workspace a little bit here, and we're going to start with this set. So I'm just going to crack these open. And you can see that these are actually sprued up. They're joined. And there's a chain that goes between. And the idea here is we've got some ports, some pegs, that allow you to kind of mix and match this with weapons. Now I'm going to take, these are a set of testers clippers that I got a little while back. These are really handy, especially for Shapeways stuff. So what I'm going to do is just carefully put it over this point here and just snip like that. And then same over here, and I got to be really careful because I don't want to snip. There's a little, I don't know if you can see that. I got to make sure I don't snip the chain part. Unfortunately, with Shapeways stuff, you really got to sprue it together to get that low part price. You're basically reducing your part count by spruing things together, kind of like those old-fashioned model kits, right? So that's why we got these sprues. So anyways, let me just quickly clip these so we can fiddle with this. This will be kind of fun. Again, I got to be really careful I don't clip that little loop. So I'll get that done. There we go. Perfect. And here we go. So we've got this handle part here, and it can attach to this point, like so. And then we've got another handle part over here, and it can attach to this point. And then what you can do is bring in additional accessories and make these even more interesting. So we got like kind of a ball here, wrecking ball. Let's make sure that's plugged on. And here's another one, like kind of a mace sort of deal. And sure enough, we can have them holster that. Now these will work with anything 5mm. So that's the cool part. And you can kind of mix and match these for your weapons. The chain turned out pretty nice, actually. I'm very happy. This is the first chain I've ever built with Shapeways. So this could be really interesting. Again, the idea here is that you mix and match. So this will work with other weapons, right? So it's kind of your choice what you're going to do with these and how you'll make it work. So, and you could have this as part of the weapon. So again, we've got the 5mm part here. We've got this part here. So I can actually plug that on there. And then I've got this weapon. Now for TFM Havoc, this is such a beautiful combiner. You can see I've got them taken apart. I've been tinkering with this one already. You probably remember last year we had a part, we have an upgrade part here, which is, it's actually really quite simple. It's just a little brace that you install into the leg, and it just fits in this part here, and increases stability quite a bit, because it prevents all the pressure from going through what is basically 2 millimeters of plastic. Now, what happened is I ended up just continuing to want to mess with this thing. I just looked at it one day and I thought, what would it look like if it was taller, if the overall proportions were slightly different? So I couldn't resist the temptation to build leg extensions, which, you know, I've done for lots of combiners. It's kind of been my thing. So these extensions here were my first draft, and you probably saw this. I think I had an image of this in my New Year's post on my Facebook page. If you haven't already, I didn't provide a lot of information about these. It was the first time I got them. I tested them. I like them. I probably will release these on Shapeways. They work, but here's the interesting thing. Once I installed these and figured this all out, I found like they looked too skinny. So I've gone and made a wider version. So let's quickly take a look at a skinny one and a wide one, and we can compare them and see how they look. Now, let's crack open the package again. First time I've ever looked at these. Hopefully these work. You know, I'm doing this for the first time on camera. Now, luckily the first set works, so I'm fairly optimistic. Now you can see this is quite sprued together. There's quite a few parts here. So to begin with, let's just snip this here. Just want to be fairly careful like that. And I'm just going to do one for today, and then we can compare side to side. So we've got this part here. This is actually, this whole panel is a separate panel. So I need to clip it off as well. So you can see when they dye the plastic, you actually end up with a little bit of white, which is where the plastic hasn't received dye. So again, I'm just going to trim these off. And now we've got this little panel. And this panel actually attaches to this hinge piece up front here. So I'm just going to clip that. Hopefully this works. Yay, it worked. And it looks like this is going to work as well. So there's a little tab here that clips over another tab here. Let's see if that goes. It's a little tight. Oh, it worked. Okay, good. So that worked. So this helps you install it, and I'll show you why we need this this mechanism in a bit. So I'm going to put this. This one is, which side is this? This, I think, is this side. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so how this works is there's a bunch of geometry back here that is going to be capturing all the joinery, the combiner mechanism here. So I'm going to be sliding that on, and there's actually little snaps on this side here that catch and prevent this thing from sliding off, which is good. So that works. So that's one side. This other side, we're going to do the narrow one just so you can compare. And I think it's this side. Hopefully I get this right. This one just slides on, and you can see there's no extra bits to worry about. Now, again, hopefully everything's good here. Look at Mr. Havoc. He's not exactly light. And again, this part is basically the same as the original leg. The geometry. I went and spent some time duplicating that to make sure that you get a good fit. And let's see, is it going to work, folks? Yep, no problem at all. Actually, that went on beautifully. And then I just push this here and close the door. And this should give you a bit of an idea what's going on. And I think you have to have the extra leg stabilizers to do this, because, you know, he's pretty tippy without all this stuff. But you can see that, again, the first attempt was very skinny, and I wasn't quite happy with the look, so I went back and did the second attempt. Now I'm just going to take that panel and pop that on. You can see that it lines up with the geometry of the thigh there, and this is my first time looking at this. I'm actually really, really happy with it. So I'm just gonna, give me a couple seconds off camera. I'm just gonna quickly cut and install the other one. So here he is, guys. I'm getting a good look at him for the very first time, and I'm really, really happy with how much these have added to his overall height and just really changed the proportions. Now, you guys might be looking at this thinking, I don't know, Steve, this is not necessarily what I want to do to Havoc. I'm happy with how he looks right now, but for me, I felt like the figure really needed some change or improvements in the proportions overall. So really, for me, it's also about how you can pose. The length of the thighs now is a lot longer. So especially when you go into more crouching positions, it really changes the proportion. So what you'll probably need to do, again, if you order it in black, what you'll need to consider is maybe getting like a Sharpie to touch up some of those points that you trim when you cut the sprues. And then the other thing that you might want to do is get some black acrylic, and that's probably what I'm going to do to better get this matching here. Just put a thin coat of acrylic on there, and that'll make it look extra integrated. But that's optional. It's nice when there's black plastic underneath too, especially, you know, because things rub here and there. So yeah, that's an option for you to consider. So there he is, TFM Havoc with these very long leg extenders. Okay, it's time for the main event. All 4 sets of parts for Warbotron Computron. I'm really excited about this. I'm also nervous. Again, I designed these just a couple weeks ago, and I don't even know if these are gonna work. So here we go. Let's see what happens. You know, you measure twice in hopes that things are gonna work out. And well, you know, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't. That's designed for you. So these are the arm extenders. Should be fairly straightforward. Big giant sprue on that to trim. Definitely helpful to have a good set of sprue cutters here. Just make sure that doesn't go flying too far. And how these work is these actually go on the arms. And I don't know about you, but I found my arms are a little bit loose. So how this works, again, this part is literally going to extend on there and clip over. So there we go. And that's pretty secure, actually. I like that amount of force. And then let's see how the force is when we add it in here. Actually, that's pretty tight. Not bad, though. Not bad at all. Now, he's looking pretty wide, but I'm hoping that all the other parts are going to complement this. So let's see. These were a bit of an experiment, and I'd love to get these narrower, but believe it or not, by the time you put this part, the socket in here and another extension here, I could maybe get it a little shorter than this, but not much. So I just found, I don't know about you guys, but I just found that overall, I couldn't even move his arms much. Like the articulation was so limited. So I'm hoping with this, I've got lots more options as to what I can do with the arms. So those worked. All right, next. Let's do this part. So this is the back part. Basically, here's the deal. I found, again, with this Warbotron set, that there was no way to actually mount the gun on his back in sort of that G1 style. And everything doesn't have to be exactly G1, but man, is it ever nice when you've got at least some reference to it. So what's going on here is, I think it was these holes. These plugs here are just going to go on those holes. Now, you got to stretch this a little bit. I'm just going to do that. You gotta flex this. And now this is where the Shapeways material really is amazing, because it flexes with quite a bit of ease. And I'm just gonna peg that in. Oh, that works. It works, folks. That's good. This one's a little tight. No, it works. That's good. So there we go. Now this piece here is going to go on his back. So let's figure that out. How did I design this, guys? How did I design this? This somehow was going to go like this. Oh, yeah. So what we've got is we've got these little bits here that are going to get captured in all this geometry up top. So again, let's hope this works. It's tight, but this should work. No, it's looking a little bit tight. So I'm going to have another look at this to see like where the geometry is catching. Okay, so I did a little bit of work off camera and I did manage to get it in, but honestly, it's just too tight. Like what's happening is to kind of squeeze it past this part, there's just too much force. So I'm going to try trimming off the tabs a bit and see if that's better. But no matter what, I'm going to have to do a design update on Shapeways. Now, one little detail about this that I wanted to make sure to show you guys is you can, I kind of like these axes, even though, you know, they didn't necessarily fit with the character. But anyways, you can actually, let's see, this should work. Yeah, it works. You can actually throw these axes on here as well for a little more bulk back there, which I just think looks kind of cool. So you've got a few options on weapons you can install there. You can put guns there as well. But there you go. Now he's actually got a turret on his back, which to me, Computron's supposed to have. Now, I think I'm going to do this for the grand finale. Let's see how these work out. So again, overall, this figure's okay. But what I found is I always thought Computron had sort of a sleeker presence. And I found like, you know, he's pretty lean up here, but then bulky here. So is there a way to kind of lean out the proportions, especially in the bottom part of the figure? So I thought these little feet caps might work. So I don't think any of the other guys have done this yet. So let me just, again, let's hope these work. Now this was a very tricky part to design because I had to figure out a way to install these onto the actual existing feet and actually have them hold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can pull this off. I'm just going to gently lay the figure down and especially show you how these install on one of the feet. So the idea here is if I tilt this up just a bit, that gives me a point to clamp on here and a point to clamp on back there. And that's basically the design. So I'm going to do that. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Let's see how that's holding. It holds okay. I think it could hold a little better. It holds okay though, actually. Not too bad, all things considered. That's it. It's as simple as that. This other one I'll do while the foot's just sitting up in the air. Should be pretty straightforward here. That's it. It's on. That might not be tight enough. I may have to go and find a little more geometry there to hold it in place, but let's just do this. And yeah, look at that. Look at those proportions. It looks quite different with those. Now I still have to paint them, but it's even kind of interesting like this because, you know, he's white and this, like he's got some white throughout him and that's more white. I don't know. I'll still paint these probably, but maybe I'll put a little bit of gray in there just to kind of break up the surfaces. But you can see again, like how it's adding just a little more length to the feet and helping to take some bulk out of the proportions there. So I'm so happy these worked. Like again, it was kind of, that was a tricky part to install. I'm so happy. Okay, so last part. We're sort of, what are we here? All except one part is worked, and even then we got it to work with a little extra force. This one was like a nightmare to design. I'll be honest with you guys. Like the number of dimensions I had to take, like we're talking hours and hours and hours in this chest region with the calipers, measuring it up, trying to get it to fit. So my God, I hope this works. So we've got 2 posts up here that are going to peg into the holes here and here. And then we've got 2 additional posts that stick out here, and they're going to peg into the holes on the underside of Scattershot's arms. So let's just see how we do. I guess the trick is, maybe I can see it kind of from the side. I'm going to take an arm off, which might make that a little bit easier, so I can line up these posts on the side. And they're a little tight. I may have to back off those a bit. Yeah, those are too tight. So we're going to have to back those off a little bit. I think the overall size of this peg is too big for the socket here, which is kind of a bummer. I'll have to fix that. Now let's just try at least pegging these bottom parts on so we can see what it looks like before I do my fixes. Well, that's going. and that worked. That's fantastic. This little piece came down. So this pegs up in here and it just backed out, but I got that fixed. All right. So you can see again, we're not able to peg this in properly here. So I'll have to go and shave those a bit, but I am at least able to peg them into the sides here. And that's it. Guys, that's it. That's the new look for Warbotron Computron. I'm happy with it. I can't wait to paint this up. I think this is going to look really, really neat. I think it's quite a big change.
So I've taken a little bit of time to fix the chest, and what I needed to do was just adjust the peg sizes here. And then I also fixed up the transformation. I had forgotten that I had actually done the transformation wrong. So this is maybe a little more representative. The big thing here you can see is I'm just playing with the arms. So I've got them on a bit of an angle now, and of course that means they're going to articulate a little bit strange. You can also have the arms more straight down. You can see he's quite wide when he looks like that. So again, the advantage here is you've got a lot more room to articulate the arms. But I'm just going to take a moment to take the extensions off. It still works fairly well without the extensions, so I'm not as sure about these so far. I'm just going to... Oops, I just bumped that out. You can see the arms are held in better with the new extensions as well, so that's an advantage. But the disadvantage is it just adds so much width, maybe a little too much width to the overall figure. So I just want to show you what it's like without those extensions and what the proportions look like. There you go. So I like those proportions. Now I'm just going to take a moment to show some other Computrons that I used as a reference when I was sculpting this. So definitely Quantron, the Make Toys version, was quite an inspiration for this. You can see the similarities in the sculpt, but I did even look at the old G1 and how I was doing the chest. So some of the details in here, like these sort of embossed areas, the sunken part in the core, some of the sculpting in this area, again G1 as a reference. I think the later Combiner Wars, well this is the, Unite Warriors, is maybe less so of an inspiration, or the Combiner Wars one, which is largely using like a Superion chest, maybe are less of a reference in this case, but you can kind of see them all together. It's kind of fun to put all the Computrons in one shot. I just wanted to do that. So have a look at that. So I think the other thing that's worth thinking about here is scale. Now, these parts don't actually add any height to the figure, but they do add a fair amount of girth to the figure, and this one's been kind of an interesting one. We're not 100% sure where it fits in scale. Let's just bring in Transformission's Menasor in, and they're fairly close, but I still think Menasor is big enough at this point. His head is larger, his hands are a little bit larger, that maybe they're not quite in scale. So this one of course has the extensions in, which we looked at earlier in the video. And the styles are quite different. I'm not sure that these are really kind of in the same can. Now, something that may make a little more sense is more of the large Combiner Wars. The larger combiners in general do kind of fit. Devastator always was a little bit larger than Computron, so that might work in terms of scale. Another example here that I'd say is not in scale would be Masterpiece. Here's Constructor. He's quite a bit bigger. He's probably barely going to fit in the frame. He's huge in comparison. So maybe hopefully one day we'll get a Masterpiece scale Computron. So unfortunately the Warbotron Computron's not that. But definitely with the chest overall, it's going to look better. I've definitely spent a lot more time enjoying the character and the figure as a result of this chest. So I'll just make a few adjustments to Shapeways and get it live, available for everybody to buy very soon.